Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Got the music going. I don't have Eddie here today, so I'm running a little on my own. So I hope you guys give me a little bit of credit, little break here. I'm on live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and live on the old Tiki Talkie. If I don't get to your question, it's not that I'm ignoring you. It's just that I'm running this by myself today. So there is no poll question, but there is a question answer. If you look at there at the top, it asks you, do you think the market is going to crash? What markets do you think it's going to crash in, and why? Because I want to know your opinion about this, because everybody seems to have their own thought process, especially when you live in an area. You can see things for what they are. Every time you talk to a real estate agent across the country, they all have a different viewpoint on what's actually happening in the real estate market. I will say here in the Baton Rouge area, if your house is priced right and it's well taken care of, your house will sell quickly. I've had homes now that were listed in the lower end and they flew off the market. Granted, they were in the lower end of the market, so they're always going to fly off the market. Then I had some that were in the top of the market, and the one that went under contract right away, it was because, this house was pristine. But if your house is just a regular old house and you haven't been taking care of it, I don't know. Some of those houses have been sitting. I was really nervous because that one neighborhood, one of those houses had been sitting for 145 days. So I don't know what it looks like inside. Just saying. If you're going to sell, make sure your house looks good. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So today we're talking about what markets, of course, are going to crash. I also want to talk a little bit about interest rates and what people are saying about that, because, Fortune has their opinions about that. According to AOL, they're saying that 4 markets are likely to see a crash. And I want to talk about a little bit about Blackstone getting back into buying houses again. They said, private equity is stop buying houses. That means the housing market's going to crash. Well, they're right back at it again. Just saying. So I want to say hello to several people that are out in there in the chat. I want to say hi to MH08. I want to say hi to Susan Jackson. And I want to say hi to the Peaceful Warrior. Kenneth Anderson, hello. SB, hello. Peter, hello. Amanda, hello. PJ, hello over there in TikTok land. And Savvy over there, thank you so much for being here again. Mel joined as well. So thank you so much for being a part of the stream today. So without further ado, we're going to get right into what is going on in the AOL article. So give me a minute, because like I said, I don't have anybody helping me today. So let's share the screen. We might have a special guest. Eddie might pop in. All right. So this is what, according to AOL, believe it or not, they are the AOL still exists, shockingly enough, and they are going to be talking about 4 states where home prices have crashed. Since I'm doing 2 screens, this thing is not moving in the right way. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. My gosh, I'm having a hard time here. All right. So home prices are falling in some cities in Florida, which doesn't surprise me. Like we've been talking about this quite a bit on the stream here. Like Florida has had a hard time getting their stuff together with the home prices. All right. Cape Coral, located in Southwest Florida, stands out for some as the most dramatic drops. A recent report from the Wall Street Journal found that homes priced in Cape Coral, Fort Myers area have dropped 11% in the past few years. Homes in the area are sitting on the market for extended periods of time, which is pushing prices lower. Additionally, almost 8% of Cape Coral homeowners owe more on their homes than they're worth. So you know what that means. Short sales and foreclosures. So you're going to start seeing those tick up in those areas. Because if a lot of people, like when they say, my house isn't worth what I owe, some people just walk away from it. I saw that in 2008. They're like, I paid $300 and now it's only $250. So I'm just going to walk away from the house. Don't do that. If you can still make the payments, don't do that. All right. In other cities, Florida has home prices fall quickly. Northport, Tampa, Jacksonville, Palm Bay, and Deltona. Beyond these individual cities in the Sun State, plummeting condo prices have rocked the real estate world in coastal areas of the state, particularly in South Florida, per Tampa Bay Times, after a tragic Surfside condo collapse. The state increased the regulations of inspections, which added up to extra closing costs or extra costs for condo owners. As skyrocketing home ownership, many owners tried to sell out, especially flooding the condo market and leading to condo prices across the state. So I will say this, with it isn't just the fact that people were, like they're getting these condo restrictions, right? They get these new assessments from the condo association that are tens of thousands of dollars. So they're just saying, hey, you know what? Because of these new rules and laws that have come in through Florida, we now have to assess your condo, and your new assessment that you have to pay in a certain period of time is going to be $30,000. Well, a lot of people don't have $30,000 they're sitting on. When they're living in a condo, it's because it's an affordable housing option. And, imagine being like new to the workforce, right? And you got into this condo because it was affordable, and then getting this special assessment. I saw a girl on TikTok. She just walked away from it. She was like, it was just not worth it. She's trying to short sale at first to see if someone would want it. But that $30,000 assessment is attached to the short sale. Yikes. So Florida's not the only one. Texas is hitting it too. So what major cities that are dropping in Texas include Austin and Dallas have rising inventory. In California, they're not seeing much of a slip in the price, but the average home value in California is $786, which is down 0.6% from last year per Zillow, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. That's a little bit of a drop. That's not a crash. All right. But in North Carolina has seen home values fall around the state, particularly in more populous cities like Charlotte and Raleigh. Again, not terribly. That's not a bad thing. They really, really got their home prices inflated so incredibly high. So if they took a little bit of a hit, that's not going to be too bad. Across the state, home values are down 0.6%. Much like California in the last year, but Raleigh in the downside has been significantly larger, with the average home sales down 2.2% in the last year. So home prices have come down 0.6% and the home values have gone down 2.2%. All right. So what does that mean for you? I'm saying keep your eye on the prize. I'm just going to keep saying this. If you are looking to find an affordable housing option, there are people that are in situations where they have to sell and sell fast. If you find yourself, looking at some of these houses and you are wanting to negotiate, there's no reason why you shouldn't put in as low as you can go. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to offend the sellers, but this is business, right? And if they can go to a certain amount, see what they can do. The worst they can do to you is say, no, we're not going to buy it. And they do not counter offer. My mom got offended once when she got a really low offer. Do you know what she did? She came back at full price and she was so upset. And I'm like, there's no reason to be upset, Mom. There's no reason. But, I think that there's going to be some markets that take a hit more than others. Especially when some of those housing markets went so high, so fast during the pandemic. Austin saw a ridiculous amount of, equity being put into all these houses, but they also had a lot of new construction. So when those houses ended up coming on the market, of course, what happened? Oh, sorry. Something on my screen went crazy. I don't know. Oh, that was crazy. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. So, when you see those home prices go up that fast over that shorter period of time in an area that doesn't necessarily have a lot of industry to support those rising home prices, of course they're going to come down. And then on top of it, if you had a lot of new construction and all those new constructed homes hit the market, of course you're going to see home prices start to come down. That's normal. That's normally what happens. But it's a different world out there, All right, let's see. If you guys have any questions, please put in the chat question, and then I'll put it up on the screen. Unless you're on TikTok, I can't put your question on the screen, but I will answer it. So just write the word question first so I can see it in the chat, and then we'll go from there. Okay. You guys aren't chatting today. You know why? Because it's Labor Day and everybody's laboring. Is that what they're doing? Are you guys laboring today? It looks like my stream is lagging a little bit. All right. We have another article that came out, and it says that the housing market is no longer wealth building. The wealth building engine as home prices continue to slump. Oh, man, of course they're not going to give me access. But I read this where I did have access, and they just blurted out. But basically what the article was saying, I'm going to stop sharing this. All right. Maybe it will let me scroll down. It's not going to let me scroll down. But basically the article is saying that it's a safer bet to rent. And I want to know who is behind, who says this, with their full chest. In some cases, a lot of people don't want to own a home. There is an expense to it. There's rising costs of property taxes. There's the rising cost of home maintenance. There's a rising price of insurance. But let's be realistic. If you rented a house for 10 years, what are you doing? You're paying the landlord's rent. You're paying their mortgage. You're paying their insurance, and you're paying their taxes. Because what they're charging you in rent is what they're using to pay for their own mortgage. If you did vice versa, then for 10 years that you own this house, you're going to have an equity position in the house. Let's just say the market remains flat for the next 10 years. You still paid down on that mortgage for the past 10 years, and you will get equity in your house. So I laughed about that article because it doesn't really make sense. I will say I understand where people are coming from, where they can't afford a house right now because interest rates are so high and home prices are so high. I do think that in a lot of housing markets, the home prices are going to remain flat. But just like some of those markets in Florida and Texas and some areas that seen a balloon of growth of home prices, I think they're going to start falling. There are some areas across the country that are still affordable, believe it or not. And this too shall pass. I think we're going to see some corrections, which is not a bad thing. I would like to see a little bit of correction in price, but you tell me what you think. You tell me what you think. All right. I'm looking through the chat right now to see if there has been any questions that have been asked. Somebody said, /Pine17 says, Lee County, Florida, especially Cape Coral, is running out of water. You couldn't give a lot away back then, but been here since 76, and the growth is unreal, and the homeless. That's what you're saying about the homeless. So that's the biggest thing that I've taken away from the pandemic is that when you raise rental prices so incredibly high, and then you have nothing to replace it for low income families, you will see an increase of homeless. And I hate the narrative that people say, oh, the people that are homeless want to be homeless. I hear that all the time. That is not the case. There are many working homeless. They have jobs, but the jobs that they have do not make enough money for them to actually live. They only can live out of their car. There's parking lots in major cities that are car lots, so people can go there, park their car to sleep in their car. They get up in the morning and they brush their teeth at a little facility to brush their teeth, and wash their face and everything. And then they go to work because they're living out of their car. So if we continue to see rents and home prices continuously increase, people are not going to be able to keep up, and we will see an increase in homelessness. I know that's not what your comment was about, but that made me think of that because I got in a little fight with a friend there. She was like, oh yeah, homeless people just want to be homeless. I don't. Like, I'm not there. That's a small section of it, like, I think they found out that like 24% of homeless is like, I'm going to have to look up this statistic. So don't quote me on this, but it was around 24% are veterans. So what are we doing for our veterans when we come home? We're not helping them. And what's getting them into that situation? So thank you for your comment, even though that wasn't what you were talking about, but I appreciate it. Oh, let's see here. We got another comment here. It says, Harley Duke came back with a counter offer of a buyer will pay the agent's commission. Oh, this is an interesting comment. So if you guys don't know, back in about a year ago, there was a settlement by the real estate, the National Association of Realtors. God forbid I say it wrong because I get an email about that. But they said that no longer would the commission for the buyer's agent be baked into the sales price of the house. So now it was a negotiation thing. By the way, it was always a negotiation thing. It's just more paperwork on our part as far as I'm concerned. So now when people get offers, like when I'm a listing agent, I get an offer, it says on there how much commission they will get and how much they are asking the sellers to pay for the commission to the selling broker. It's pretty normal. That's pretty normal. Here, we don't even offer it ahead of time. We just wait to see what the other agent is asking. The interesting statistic is that the agents are making more money now than they did prior. Because you know why? Because people are in markets they're more desperate. And they haven't had a lot of buyers come through into their houses. So when a buyer does come in and that agent says, I want X amount for my brokerage, they're willing to say, you know what, we'll take the hit because I want to get my house sold. Interesting, right? Interesting. Somebody had popped in and then popped off. I wonder if that was Eddie. I gave Eddie a link. So I gave Eddie a link. All right. I think it's always negotiable. I'll be willing to meet with some people in the place in the middle, unless it's an incredibly low offer. Yeah. Anytime you can offer, that isn't the all be all. There's always a negotiation. Oh, look, I found somebody. Yay!
Hi.
You're helping me out here. This is hard to do on my own, Edward.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Well, I hope everybody's having fun today. I'm out here in Pensacola, helping a buddy of mine with a 100-mile race. So
yeah, well, we miss you, especially me.
I miss you guys too. I miss you very much.
Especially me. I miss you very much because this is hard to do it myself. I haven't done it myself for a long time.
So what are we talking about today?
Well, Mona had a question. It says, do you think lower interest rates will inflate values more? I do offer lower income homes, like on the lower of the median, because they're going to be more desirable.
Anything median and lower will be anything in the 250, 300 range will just skyrocket again.
Yeah, Eddie's not a real estate agent. He's just putting his personal
No, not anywhere close. Nope.
Yeah, we talk about this stuff all the time, but houses, in no matter what market you're in, even when in the 08, 09 era, if you were at the lower end of that median price, your house was selling. I mean, they were flying off the market. And then on top of it all, like during that time, they were given an incentive like $6,000 for closing costs from the federal government because they wanted to get more of these houses sold. Then the houses started increasing in that price range because they were more desirable because people had this new tax, incentive to buy houses. So I can't see, with the amount of pent up demand there is for affordable housing, that those houses will get any less expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I see it now, from what I see now is it does that, anything in the median home prices go quick if priced right.
Genevieve says, Kristina, I ended up moving to Michigan after I talked to you about getting a realtor, but it made it more sense to rent for me. And I love my rent-a-lap. Rent-a-lap. I come and go and no worries. Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm not saying buying a house is the end all be all for anybody, right? There's going to be periods of our lives that we need to rent. But I'm saying is that the narrative that it's not a good idea to ever buy a house is silly too. And I think they write those articles because, companies like Blackstone, BlackRock, private equity firms are really genuinely trying to convince younger generations they never want to own a home. They really are pushing for that. You should see some of these communities and the way that they do their like propaganda advertising. It's wild. It is wild. They we have dog parks and we have swimming pools and we maintained all of these properties for now, by the way, because you know how they are. They'll start off doing all this stuff and then they walk away and then the homes go to the wayside. But
well, it's kind of
Blackstone wants you to rent. Yeah, look, it says Blackstone wants you to sell your home to them so they can rent it back to you for more. You got it. That's exactly right. So what was it you're saying, Eddie?
But I will say it's not just BlackRock and Blackstone now. A lot of builders are even turning to rentals. So they'll turn and flip a neighborhood into build to rent or even condos into apartments now. Just because they know instead of it sitting there, they can get people in there.
Oh, this was a good question. It says, can you explain equity and how it benefits a homeowner? So when you own a house for a period of time, let's just say you bought a house in 2019 for $150,000. And then for the last 6 years, the real estate market increased in value. So you bought it for $150,000. But now the real estate market is saying it's worth $275,000. So now you have an equity position in your house because your house is valued for more. So you can borrow against that equity position that you have. So if you have PMI, you can have that removed. If you want to buy another piece of property like a rental, you could do that because you could do a equity line of credit, a HELOC. There's other ways you can use the equity that you gained in the house, which you didn't have before. It's money that has earned on your investment, so you can invest in other things. That's what I mean, that how it benefits the homeowner. Some people use those home equity lines of credit to update their house. Sometimes they'll do something called a bridge loan where their house hasn't sold yet, but they'll bridge the equity in that house into the new house that they're trying to purchase, and they wait for that other one to close, so they're able to close on the house that they're trying to buy and keeping the other house on the market. And then there's so many different types of ways you could tap into the equity of your house, but it's your money, right? So that if you were renting in 2019 all the way to 2025, you haven't gained that equity position that you have now. If you were renting, it doesn't exist. That was a great question. Mm-hmm.
I do want to let.
Oh, he's
microphone is crackling.
No, that's you.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys go.
All right. Bye. Eddie's going.
Bye.
All right. Genevieve says they're saying that with illegal domiciled here, leave that there will be a surge in available homes. What do you think? I don't know. I've never heard of this. I don't have an answer for you. I do not. Here we got another question. Tess says, question, do you know the DOJ is giving permission to sue BlackRock, Vanguard, and for buying homes up in coal companies, monopolizing and driving up electricity prices by pushing green initiatives? Let's do a little Google search on this. I'm going to move my little cuppy cup because I have not. All right. DOJ suing BlackRock for buying homes in Oh, buying homes, and then I'm just going to put green initiatives. I know that it wouldn't surprise me because they are totally, this administration is totally against green initiatives. I don't. One thing I do know is that they don't have green initiatives like they used to for building houses anymore. So builders are not required to meet those green standards. So you may not have as much of an energy efficient house after 2025. All right. I'm going to share this screen. And forgive me, it's an AI response, but all right. All right. Reports of the DOJ suing BlackRock for buying homes through green initiatives is not accurate. However, the DOJ and the FTC have intervened in a major antitrust lawsuit targeting BlackRock and other asset managers for alleged collusion related to the ESG goals in coal production. The lawsuit in November 2024, a group of Republican-led states, superheaded by the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, filed a lawsuit against BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. The suit alleges that these asset management firms use their influence as a major state shareholders to collude to pressure competing coal companies to reduce output in the name of environmental, social, and governance, the ESG initiatives. Allegations that the plaintiffs claim is this alleged anti-competition conspiracy drove up energy prices for customers. They argue that the firm's participation in industry-wide net zero climate initiatives was an illegal agreement to harm competition. I don't trust anything that BlackRock does. And anything. They always say that they're trying to do it for the better of society, but it's really for the better of their pockets. The DOJ involvement in May of 2025, the U.S. Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission filed a joint statement of interest supporting the state's legal theories. This is the first time that the federal antitrust agencies have formally weighed in on the legally ESG initiatives under the federal antitrust laws. Well, I mean, have at it. Yeah, have at it. I'm okay with that. BlackRock, Blackstone currently is going to be renovating because they are looking at low income housing, and they have 70,000 apartments in low income apartment buildings that they're now going to take over to better the apartment complexes. And we all know what happens when Blackstone takes over anything. They've done it in mobile home parks. They've done it to neighborhoods, and they're probably going to do it to low income housing. They do these things to improve the park, like they'll put down some new roads. Maybe they'll, update the front. Maybe they'll take care of some maintenance issues. And then they start hiking the rents up, and nobody's there to stop them. Private equity getting their hands in housing has been the worst thing that's happened in real estate for the last 20 years. And that's the hill I'll die on. How about that? I'm not a fan. Oh, look, we got a super chat. Yay! Thank you. I would do a sound effect, but I don't know how to do that on this. Peterman of the High Rule says with a $5 super chat, Smallhorn doesn't sell houses. The houses get just Smallhorned. Oh, that's funny. Kristina Smallhorn doesn't sell houses. The houses get Smallhorned. And I have to tell you what my marketing style is. And this is one of those things that everybody knows me for. I video the heck out of all my houses. I video the heck out of them. And every single one of them sells because of a video. I don't know why more agents don't do it. I don't know why they don't do it. Tess has a question. Tess says, question, did you know that BlackRock and Vanguard own a majority share of NVR Incorporated, which owns and operates NV Homes and the Heartbeat brand homes? That doesn't surprise me at all. There are so many companies under the umbrella of Blackstone and BlackRock that does not shock me whatsoever. And when you really start digging the layers back of any company, if you start seeing a big company buying up a bunch of houses in your area, start looking to see who's on their board of directors. And I guarantee, and because I've done this a million times, there is somebody sitting on there that works for BlackRock or Blackstone. There, on one of those boards, on one of those sides, there's always somebody that sits on the board that's from those companies every single time. Ian said, is there a reason we don't have any housing cooperatives west of the Mississippi? Apartment complex where you can buy in for $16,000 and pay $600 for general income upkeep. I don't know of any. I'm not in the Mississippi area, so I don't know of any housing cooperative. And I think for Mississippi and like Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, there's still a lot of land to be built, on, and they don't necessarily consider those states to be unaffordable. So that's probably why you don't see a lot of cooperatives. All right, I'm going down. I'm yelling timber. All right, we got another question. Did you see my questions? Will illegals leaving the country leave more for houses for the increased supply and lower prices? Absolutely not. No, that it will not. The illegals leaving the country is not going to make a housing crash happen. I hate to tell you. Maybe more apartments available. Where I live in Louisiana, there has not been a significant rise in vacant housing because of the roundup of illegal immigrants in our area. Not even close. Not anywhere it makes a difference. Here we go. Genevieve has another question. All right. Will illegals moving back to their home country make the supply surge for price drops? All right. Now, I mean, I know that a lot of people think this because, that was a narrative that was going around. Maybe some more apartments would be available, but I don't see that this would be the case, right? Because when we're talking about people going back to their countries, right? You're thinking that these people can afford like major houses, right? A lot of them are living in one house with a lot of different people living inside. So I don't think it's going to make a significant shift in the housing markets. I don't. Mrs. Melanated says, do you think starter homes will ever be affordable for the regular people? Okay. This is what I think. If the housing market has a significant shift, it's going to be from one reason and one reason alone. And that's the jobs market. If more people start losing their jobs, they're going to be in a situation where they can't afford to make their payments. We saw this back in 2008. The financial crisis that happened wasn't just because of really crazy mortgages. It was because people were losing their jobs too. The only way I see that becoming more affordable again is either A, we have a huge increase in supply, which I can't see that happening unless they start building modular housing, which they're not doing, or we see a economic collapse because of jobs and people losing their jobs and they're forced to sell. So that's where I think we'll see home prices come down again and across the board. Proud Liberal 24 says, question, by the time you pay 2 times your original purchase price to the bank in interest, do you really gain any value in your home? Well, a lot of people are really pissed poor with savings. If I'm going to be honest with you, they don't know how to save. So it's like if you have a house, you have a forced savings account, and then you are able to buy from it, borrow against it. So the most people are not going to. The majority of Americans are not going to take that money and go, what I would have saved on interest, I'm going to go ahead and put it in a Roth IRA and I'm going to invest in the stock market. No, the majority of people do not do that. So I get what you're saying. Technically, yes, but most people do not do that. All right, we got another one. Beater Man with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. If Kristina Smallhorn holds an open house, she widens the walls for more agents. Thank you, Peter Man, for the $5 super chat. I will say this. I don't do open house. And it just a little FYI for everybody, open house will not sell your house. I know agents will argue with me about this. Open house helps the person sitting inside the house meet people that are looking for a house so they can turn them into clients. I'm not saying it can't happen from an open house. I'm not saying you wouldn't get a contract or an offer from an open house, but the likelihood is very, very slim. I have sold one house in my career from an open house, and the whole entire time was like, oh, I just finally sold one from an open house. So, not that you asked, I was just going to let you know. If you don't want to do open house, it's not the end all be all to your house. That's for sure. I know it's part of people's marketing strategy, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sell from an open house. Oh, why is my audio out of sync? I don't know. Maybe it's this weird blur thing that they put on my thing. I'm sorry. I don't have Eddie here, so I don't know if there was something I needed to do. I'm looking for more questions in the chat. All right, here we go. Tess W says, Kristina, have you seen any evidence that BlackRock is taking over communities through the HOAs? I'm guessing they would do something like that. Any HOA would sell out for the right price. So BlackRock owns or is invested in companies that manage HOAs. So you can have an HOA in your own community, but you have the management company that manages those HOAs. And how they make their money on that, because they're evil, is they know that all HOAs have a covenant that has like a fine system, right? Like they fine you for not keeping your grass, up to date. They fine you for, like the wrong color painted to your house. They'll fine you. In my neighborhood, they'll fine you if you leave your garage door open overnight. They have all these fines. So they send people out from this management company to start invoking the fines because they really don't make any money off of the HOAs themselves. They make the money off the fine. So yes, I do believe that BlackRock, Blackstone, and all of those private equity firms are 100% into the HOAs because they're not only into the HOAs, they're into now all the plumbing companies, all those mom and dad plumbing companies. They're trying to buy them out. They're doing it with HVAC companies as well. You hear about it all the time when you're listening to people that work in the trades, that they get offers from the big private equity firms that they'll buy them out at a really appealing price because they're trying to capitalize on that firm as well. I don't know what happened to, like, you can't have a monopoly here in the United States. That went out the window because BlackRock pretty much owns everything. It reminds me of that movie WALL-E. Remember back in the day, WALL-E? And they had that one company that owned everything. One day we're all going to just be robots or we're going to be up in space on a spaceship because WALL-E's company has taken over everything. Between Amazon and BlackRock, man, they own it all. I'm looking for more questions. All right. Somebody said the audio was fine. Thank you. I appreciate it. Question: how many buyers end up paying the agent's buyer commission now? What percentage of transactions would you guess? Here in Louisiana, I would say it's 99%. I have yet to have seen anybody, and I'm sure it happens, but I have yet to have seen anybody where the sellers won't pay the buyer's commission. It's, people just, they're like, oh, okay, well, let's just ask the sellers. And then the sellers have already, known that they most likely they will have to pay the broker's commission for that. And that, like I said, it's negotiable. So let's just say a buyer's agent comes through. We have this offer, it's a full price offer, but the buyer's agent wants 3.5%. And the sellers are like, I'm not willing to pay that. I'll pay 2.5%, but I'm not paying 3.5%. You're crazy. And so then it becomes a whole negotiation process. Yeah. Buyer's commissions in real estate. I'm just looking this up on the old Google Webs. Okay. News. I'm looking in the news. All right, here we go. We're going to go into this one. We're going to share the screen. Share screen. All right. Been a year since the rules changed how real estate agents are paid, where commissions stand now. All right, we all know what happened. Okay. All right. In theory, the changes were meant to give buyers more flexibility on how they pay for their agent services, offering a bargaining chip to help lower costs. Lower costs. In practice, most commissions are still being covered as part of the sales proceeds. After dipping in late 2024, the average buyer's fees have returned to roughly historic norms, undercutting the negotiation power that rule was meant to give buyers. What buyers agents are getting paid? The average U.S. buyer's agent commission was 2.43% for homes sold in the second quarter of 2025, up from 2.38 a year earlier, according to Redfin. Commissions tend to decline as prices rise, since a smaller percentage on expensive homes still results in a larger payout. Redfin's latest analysis for the quarter ending in 2025 shows that the pattern has continued after the rule change. Homes under 500,000, the commissions were around 2.5%, up from 2.45% a year earlier, the highest rate here since 2023. Homes between 500,000 and 999,000, the average commission was 2.34, up from 2.31 a year earlier. Homes priced about 1 million or more, the average commission was 2.2%, still below the 2.24 a year earlier. So, yeah, it really hasn't changed that much. I have yet to have seen a seller unwilling to pay the buyer's broker's commissions. But it's a negotiation fee, negotiation. So let me do this little stop sharing. Great question. Great question. Ta-da. Oh, we got another super chat. Peter Man says, if Kristina has 5 acres of land and you have 5 acres of land, Kristina Smallhorn has more land than you. Okay, because why? Am I that big? Am I that big of a person? Somebody says, oh, so that's why HOAs have been going crazy on their fines. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street are the 3 arms of the WEF, the World Economic. Is it Foundation? I think it's Foundation. All right, we got another question. Kristina, what are the positives and negatives of using my land as a down payment for a mobile home? Ooh, this is a good question. Okay, so when you have a mobile home, there's 2 kinds of loans that you can get. I mean, there's more than 2, but the basics are 2 loans. So when you have a mobile home and you own the land, you can wrap the land into the actual mobile home itself. So then it's considered real property and is taxed as such. If you have it as a separate, you have something called a chattel loan. And that chattel loan is an individual loan. So if you stop making payments on your mobile home or manufactured house, the bank can come and take your home, but they can't take your land. And that's why some people decide to do that when they own the piece of land. The bonus is when you have a chattel loan, it's over a shorter period of time. They do not do 30-year loans on a chattel loan. The interest rate on a chattel loan is a lot higher than it is for a traditional loan. When you have it wrapped into a piece of land where it's on your piece of land and it's all wrapped into one, it's considered real property. You can get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. You can get an FHA loan. You can get a VA loan. You can get a rural development loan. You have all these different types of loan packages that are available to you that will give you a lower interest rate. So that's why you would want to wrap it up into your actual house and your land together. So just FYI, but some people don't want to do that. Some people are like, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to make this payment. This is my daddy's land. I don't want to risk the fact that he would lose a piece of his land or family land. So I'm just going to pay for it individually. Some people do that. But if you want those good rates, you wrap it together. All right. Nalali? I hope I said the name right. Question. So you essentially can end up having to fork up 5% or 6% to sell your home. That's nuts. You don't have to. You 100% don't have to. There's lots of people that sell their house for sale by owner. You don't have to do any of that. I've seen it many times in my area. I live outside of Baton Rouge in a small area. Lots of people sell their houses for sale by owner. You don't have to pay commissions to real estate agents. Nobody is. It's not a law or required for you to use a real estate agent to sell your home. So if you don't want to pay commissions, you can try to sell it yourself. And it's a lot easier now too, because there's social media everywhere. If you want to do it yourself, you can. Absolutely. Here we go. Oops, we got another question here from Proud Liberal 24. Question: what does as is mean? Are there no disclosures? Are they saying the seller will not make repairs? Okay, so as is clause here in the state of Louisiana, this may be different for your area, but as is, all real estate in the state of Louisiana is sold as is at the time of closing. So everybody has it checked off when you're listing your house, it's sold as is. But that means that at the time of closing, you're taking it in the condition that it's at after you've had inspections and after you negotiated those inspections and repairs. That's why it's really important for you to do those final walkthroughs to make sure that those repairs were done and you have receipts for those repairs and that you can give them to the home buyers after you've done your inspections to make sure that they were done correctly. In some states, as is where, you see the house, you get what you pay for. If you don't want it, have at it. But they'll say you can do an inspection and you can even cancel the contract because of inspections, but we're not going to repair anything. That's very possible too. I saw that a lot during the COVID years, where people would say, I'm selling it as is and making no repairs, because they knew that the house would sell anyway. And so the buyers still had the right to do the inspection, but they could make a request, but the sellers flat out will tell them, I'm not going to make any kind of repairs on the house. Be careful of that though. If the damages to the house after you've had it inspected are bad enough, some home loans will not go through once it goes through underwriting. If there's problems with the roof, the HVAC system, or plumbing, some loan packages will say, we're not going to give you the money to purchase this house because of the fact there's so many defects in the home itself. So just something to be aware of. Oh, somebody wants to join my stream on decline. I don't. So on TikTok, you guys, they ask to join the stream because they want to talk. But I don't know a lot of the people on TikTok. If I knew, then I would allow it. But I'm not gonna do it. Nope. World Economic Forum. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Forum. I was thinking Foundation because I'm watching that show on. I don't know if you guys watch on Apple TV, Foundation. I'm a real sci-fi freak, and I'm watching that show, Foundation. That's why it was in my head. I'm still going through and trying to find anybody that has a question. Here we go. Ray Zimmerman has a question. For mortgage refinance, what is the average percent of price for closing costs on a refinance? Is there an application fee? Ray, I am not a mortgage lender. I don't touch mortgage lending advice on any of that. I just don't know what it is for refinancing at all. But do you know who does? And I tried to get him on the show today. Is Kyle Seagraves from the channel Win the House You Love. So go ahead and post your question over there. Matter of fact, I could ask him, but he's too busy. He couldn't come on here this week. He could not come on here this week. Who's on first says, is a 1% buyer's commission reasonable when buying is not using a loan? Okay. Is a 1% buyer's commission reasonable when the buyer is not using a loan and paying all cash? Well, the type of loan that you get or paying cash has nothing to do with the buyer's commission rate, right? It has nothing to do with it. You can use anything. They don't care. They can use Bitcoin. It doesn't matter to them what you're purchasing at. It has to do at the end of the day, what is their broker willing to accept as far as a commission rate? And that is always negotiable. I've seen real estate agents after this whole thing started, they kind of started an a la carte business where they were like, okay, I will do it for 1% if I'm only filling out the paperwork and making sure it goes over to the title company. And they won't be there for inspections. They will not negotiate inspection repair requests. They will, they're not doing anything other than doing the paperwork, and that they'll take a 1%. So you're like, it's just one of those things that you can negotiate with the buyer's agent. It doesn't matter though, if you're using cash, a loan, Bitcoin, pocket lint, it doesn't matter. And a lot of times with those commissions as well, it's not the agent that's saying, I have to do it. The buyer's agent that says, I have to do it at no more than 2.5%. It's probably the broker that's telling her that. But everything's negotiable. All right, here we go. We keep going down. Is there anyone? Debbie Brady says, do not allow a rando on TikTok's live stream. A recipe for disaster, in my opinion. Yes, Debbie Brady, you were correct, because back a million years ago, I did a live stream where I gave out the link to people in the comment section to join the live stream, and some guy was like laying in his bed like this, I don't know what he was doing. Just leave it at that. Not my proudest moment on live streaming. Proud Liberal 24 says, what are the pros and cons of using dual agency? Use the seller's agent to help you buy. I'm going to be completely honest and frank right at this moment. Do not do dual agency. It is a recipe for disaster, inevitably. And I know some real estate agents are going to sit there in the chat right now and say, I've never done this. I call total BS. I never do dual agency. If you look at my records, you'll see that I have a couple that are dual agents, meaning that I represented the buyer and the seller, and they were family. The only reason, and I made them sign like 50 addendums, and all of the correspondence was on the same exact email, so everybody was on the same exact page, because it is a recipe for disaster. They're supposed to remain neutral parties between the two, but what you want as far as representation is somebody to get you the best price. If you're the seller, you want to get the most money that you can for your house. If you're the buyer, you want to get that house for the cheapest amount. So if somebody's representing you dually on both sides, how is that going to happen? How is that going to happen? No, I am totally 100% against dual agency. And like I said, there are plenty of real estate agents that are very firm in the fact that they are very fair on both sides. I think it's stupid. I wish it was banned. I don't think that anybody should be a dual agent. Like I said, the only reason I ever did it was because they were the brother was buying the sister's house. And I was like, I don't want to do it. He's like, but you're being my agent. I'm like, okay. So the only reason I did it was like, they had to be on the same email. They had to be on the same text message threads. I wanted everybody to be very clear what was going on between the two of them. And it was basically those two negotiating with each other. And I just did the paperwork because I was not going to be responsible. I mean, you can get yourself as a real estate agent in a heap of crap if you do dual agency. That's a fantastic question, by the way. I hate dual agency. I hate it, hate it, hate it. Some states don't allow it. It's illegal in some states. Ray says, I've heard refinance closings are about 6 to 10%. Negates the savings from a lower interest rate for 7 years. Just trying to get a firm number. Yeah, I just don't know. I haven't refinanced in forever, and because I know I'm in real estate, but it's not one of those things that I see all the time, because I'm dealing with the actual sale of the house, not the refi part of it. Nally. Okay. A question for, aside from having to pay the buyer's commission, they also want closing costs to be covered. Is that what's going on? Of course it is. Yeah. So especially with like the houses that are just under the median price, they will ask for closing costs as well, which would the contract would look exactly the same prior to this lawsuit settlement. They still this always happens. The seller still would have paid the buyer's agent's commissions, and then the negotiation for the closing costs as well. It's very normal that happens. I just had that recently, that they needed like $2,500 in closing costs, and then I would pay the buyer's agent's commission, and that's what we did. The buyer's agent broker's commissions, not the buyer's agent, broker's commissions. I have to be clear about that. Question: Do you sponsor new agents? Are you looking for a sponsor? I can just email me. Email me at info@kristinasmallhorn.com, and we'll have a little discussion about your real estate needs. Yeah, I'll help you out. Absolutely. Ray Zimmerman says, I totally agree. Do not use dual agency. Personal experience selling inherited house. The agent will not give you objective advice as your choices. Sell versus rent versus demolish. Keep agents separate. I concur, Ray. I concur. And I know I'm going to get a heap of poop from a bunch of real estate agents. Like, how dare you say that? I've been in the business for 27 years and I've done dual agency and I've represented both sides fairly. And I say, if you really think about it and you dial it back just a little bit, did you really? Because it's human nature to like one person more than the other. It's human nature. You don't even realize that you're doing it. It's in your bones, But if you are dedicated to one side, then that side is going to do everything they can to get you the price that you want, whether that's the buyer or the seller. If you're representing both sides, bad. All right, Mark H's question. I have a manufactured home being installed in northern Arizona. It's going to be sitting on a block. I didn't ask if there were going to be hurricane straps. Wouldn't they do that? In northern Arizona, do you have a hurricane problem? So look at your wind zone. It has a lot to do with your wind zone, what kind of strapping system they use for your manufactured home. So if you're in wind zone 1, 2, or 3, and they'll tell you exactly what you need, and they'll advise you on that according to that wind zone rating. And if you do need, we call them hurricane straps, but they're really just anchored down straps, wind straps. Yeah, they would tell you if you need it or not, because they wouldn't be able to pass the state inspections. If they didn't put it in and it was required, it wouldn't pass those owner occupancy licensing. So I'm not sure if it's needed in northern Arizona. All right, Muddy Sneakers, good to see you, friend. Haven't seen you in a hot minute. Says Kristina, if money was not an issue, what state would you and Eddie move to and why? Ooh, I'm a northern girly. I don't know if you know this. I love the north. So anywhere in the Northeast, really, Massachusetts, Vermont, anywhere up north. I need to be cold. Kristina is very hot and she's over it. I really love Massachusetts. I think I would go back home. I used to live in Plymouth. Yeah, I think I'd go back home. Maybe Providence, even. Providence, Rhode Island, around that area. Proud Liberal 24 says, we did dual agency and the seller's agency called us buyers by accident and left a nasty message saying how low our offer was. Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. Do not do dual agency. Oh. And see, there's this thought process, and it's very common here in Louisiana. I noticed that when I first got my real estate license here, that buyers think that they're going to get a better offer because they can make the real estate agent reduce her commission because she's representing both sides. And while that is true, you may not be saving as much money as you thought because you have somebody that's representing both sides. So that little bit of deduction, let's just say, $1,500, nothing to sneeze at, but let's just say it's $1,500. What if you could have gotten a cheaper price for the house if you worked with an agent that was just your dedicated agent? Yeah, but it's a like a cultural thing here. Like people are like, well, if I work with a listing agent, they'll reduce the commissions and I'll get the house for cheaper. Not necessarily so. Just saying. Thank you, Debbie Brady. Thank you so much. She went ahead and put my email addresses in there. Levy says a truly ethical human being can be an ethical agent and keep favorites out of the equation, but that requires a very principled individual. Even if you don't mean to and you don't think that you're doing it, I think people subconsciously do it. I think they just do. It's human nature. They can't help themselves. All right, another question. Aren't the buyers' closing costs closer to 10,000? Love you, by the way. I feel bad that I can't say your screen name right. Nally? I hope it's Nally. Okay, so it depends on how much the purchase price of the house is, how much they are putting down. If they're trying to buy discount points, they could need as little as $3,000, but they can need as much as $15,000. I've seen closing costs at $15,000 for a $200,000 house. I saw that once because they were trying to fix their credit score. I mean, it was a nightmare. They didn't accept the offer, by the way. The buyers didn't, the sellers didn't. So yeah, it just depends on what kind of loan they need, how much they need to put down, if they're short any money. It just depends. Interesting question, Money Sneakers. What is your answer to the same question? Oh, I missed that. Sorry, I saw the word question. I thought it was a question for me. It was a question from Muddy Sneakers. Muddy Sneakers. All right. Who's on first has a question. Any insight into how successful van life can be for remote workers who only require internet connection? Chasing national parks, historic sites, and seeing around the country would be fun. I think it takes a certain person to be able to handle that lifestyle. So I have a friend. He is the Urban Explorer. No, Urban Van Life. He changed his channel name. So it's Urban Van Life. He sold his whole entire house and put everything in storage and is traveling all over the EU in his van. Those first few months were very difficult. You have to get Starlink. You got to be able to get permission to go in some of these parks. You have to have the certain kind of licensure in other parks. Like you could have a van that's completely souped up, but if you don't have that certificate, when you go into some of these places, they're not going to allow you to use their hookups. Yes, it's very possible. And it is a very affordable way to, live out the life that, things cost a lot of money. So it's a very affordable way for a lot of people, and a lot of people are coping with it that way. But the parks are getting a lot more critical on who can stay in the park, how long they can stay in the park, and what kind of vehicles they're allowed to camp at the park. So just be aware of that if that's something that you're considering. But I mean, if I was young and didn't have kids, instead of going to the raves back in the 90s, I think I would have bought a van and traveled around the United States with Eddie. If I had known better. Not saying I didn't have a great time at the raves, but I would have had a better experience, a more cleansing experience if I didn't go to the raves. Oh, Kristina, she was a party girl back in the day. Proud Liberal 24. Do you have to disclose a haunted home in most states? It depends on the state. Not most states do not require you to disclose. I noticed that in a lot of northern states they do, but here in Louisiana, you do not have to disclose if your house is haunted. In New Orleans, it's like people want to have that designation that their house is actually haunted, and it takes a while to get onto the official haunted house designation. And once you're on that list, it's impossible to get you off of it, by the way. And then because people do those haunted house drive-by tours, and they tell the whole story of who's haunting the house. But yeah, no, you don't have to officially do it. You don't have to. Remember that house, the Amityville Horror House? There's people that have moved into that house since that whole story had come out, And they're like, nothing weird has ever happened to this house. We've never heard anything, nothing bizarre. They changed the look out of it. You remember those windows, those creepy windows that they had for the Amityville house? They don't have that anymore. It doesn't look like that. Yeah. We should do a live stream on the haunted houses across the United States. I'm going to look up, I'll show you the Amityville house. Oh, I got to do this on TikTok because it will tell me that I'm going to. All right. Amityville house. Amityville house. I'm doing my phonics because I didn't know how to spell Amityville house. Okay, here it is. Images. I'm going to show you guys. Share screen. Okay, so you remember these historic windows, right? These that weird. Well, now it looks like this. They changed it. It's just normal. They didn't want to show you those weird windows anymore. They doesn't have those like eyes looking thing on there anymore. Not like that. It's a shame, huh? They changed it. Oh, what a creepy story. That movie scared the heck out of me as a kid. I should not have been watching that at the age I was watching it. But, it was the 80s. They let kids watch anything. They put everything on television. Late at night, they're going to do it. So, look, if you guys are looking for a real estate agent in your area, I can help you find a real estate agent. All you have to do is go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com. I'll show you it right here. Share the screen. Oh my gosh, how come it's not here? Maybe if I put it over here. All right. Cancel. I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to show you something, and my little thing isn't working. I hate when my little thing is. All right. Oh, maybe I had too many tabs open. All right, I'm just going to share the whole entire window. All right, there we go. You can just go over here. You can just click on over here, hit one of the pink buttons, have a conversation with me, and we'll talk about your real estate needs. And I can find you a real estate agent in the area that you live. All right, and if you want to share this with your friends or listen to this later in your car, you can go to anywhere you listen to podcasts and look up Kristina Smallhorn, Real Estate for Everyone. Today's episode will be uploaded tomorrow. Eddie will still be doing that, even though he's not here. He's out running. He was running a marathon. So he'll be back next week, and this will run a lot smoother. I know I was doing it on my own. Give me a break. If you guys have any real estate questions in the meantime, you're more than welcome to email me at info@KristinaSmallhorn.com. I hope everybody has a fantastic Labor Day weekend. Enjoy the hot dogs, and we'll get back to work again in unprecedented events starting on Tuesday once again, and then we will see you on Sunday. I want to say a special thank you to all the moderators that came out and kept the chat nice and clean. I also want to say a special thank you to all of our super chatters today. This was great. I haven't had a lot of super chats in a long time, so this is fantastic. I want to apologize to the people on the live stream on TikTok. I wasn't able to keep my eye on all the screens at one time, but next week, I promise you will be better. I promise you. All right. Love you guys. I mean it. See you next week. So long. Bye-bye.